welcome to Norwich. Really pleased that you've taken the time to come and hear us talk about our courses. We've got a lot to show you today, so we're sort of packing quite a bit into this talk because we want to give you a real full sense of what goes on in our community, and we kind of see it like that as well. So I'm Glen.
And I'm Dave.
So this is us in animation form. And I'm course leader for the Design for Publishing course and the Graphic Design course here.
And I'm course leader for User Experience Design and Graphic Communication.
So we wanted to sort of start by talking about a little bit about our community because we're 4 courses that work together. We're sort of greater than the sum of our parts, which I think is something that's really great about coming to Norwich and studying a design course. So there's more than just me and Dave. There's a big community of tutors that you'll work with, and we're all very experienced. A lot of us are practicing designers and researchers as well. So you get this kind of rich mix of people to work with. And, you know, we like to have fun. This is from one of our end-of-year portfolio events in London that we hold, and we do those things together as a group of courses. We're kind of really proud of our success as well. So the university has been, you know, named Arts University of the Year, and we have our triple TEF Gold, which means that we're really good at teaching and student outcomes and experience. And that sort of is inherent in the 4 courses that we're talking about today. We like to have a lot of fun as well. So as a university, we have community events that go beyond course. So if you see a poster that says "Make It Manifesto" up when you're on a tour, that's project work that we did in week 1, where the university as a whole kind of creates and makes and does things, and then we all share and look at each other's work in an event at the end of week 1 as part of getting you ready for university life, and, you know, bringing the year 2 and year 3 students back in and getting a really fun, creative start to the year. So if you see these posters around in the building where graphics is, that's what that relates to.
We wanted to talk a little bit at the beginning here about the successes that we've had over the summer. So a lot of the competitions we enter tend to be towards the end of the year, and the results get announced over the summer. We had a really, really strong year this year with a competition we enter each year called Creative Conscience. So the idea is you construct a project that will has the effect of doing some good in the world. So design for good is a kind of theme attached to this, and we had winners in multiple projects this year, but also a particularly huge moment for us is one of our students won the Grand Prix Award, which there's only one given out internationally, and this went to one of our students this year. So Max Barker did a project that kind of brings together all of the things that are important to us. So great ideas, great storytelling, creative technology, and sustainability. So we're going to play you the film that won him the award. So this is Max receiving his award from Chrissy Levitt, the creative director of the Creative Conscience, Creative Conscience organisation. So that happened in this room just a few weeks ago when Chrissy gave a talk to the whole university about her organisation and how we can continue to be involved with them and make positive changes in the world.
And I think this also reflects ambitions as an institute as well. We have 2 research institutes, one called Sustainable Worlds and one which is Creative Technology. And the 4 courses that we're talking about today really key into those themes within within student project work that we set. And we're really sort of passionate about exploring these themes, aren't we, within our topic. So you'll be here for one of these, or maybe more than one of these courses. So we're going to talk about all 4 of them: graphic design, graphic communication, design for publishing, and user experience design. And they're all connected by the idea that we're all designers, we're all solving problems, thinking about communication. So we share a lot in common. And because of that, we have quite a unique delivery in terms of how we think about the education of those topics. So we're 4 successful courses, and we're delivered with a unique approach, which isn't really very common in the sector. So the 4 courses, they mix together. So you work with people that are maybe studying user experience design or design for publishing or graphic design. And that learning that you gain from that experience is really vital and valuable. And because of and one of the things that sort of connect us is this idea around craft and thinking, whatever that is. So it could be digital craft, it could be working in analog, manual methods of creativity. Obviously, the thinking part of it is really important because that's what makes it design. And from that, we encourage our students to explore ideas that will challenge and change the world, potentially as well. So ideas are really at the heart of all of the courses. And it sort of manifests in different ways. So within graphic design, it's very much about sort of joyous ideas, seeing the opportunity in how you craft a piece of communication.
And in UX design, it could be applying a number of different techniques to construct. So the craft in here is crafting an interface that makes sense for a user, as well as using the graphic design skills that you build up through year 1 to organize elements on a page together and create harmony and unity.
In design for publishing, we explore content and the way content might inform the design process. So we're thinking very much about the story that we're telling and how that might lead towards more effective, meaningful communication.
This is an image from a graphic communication prize-winning film we're going to show you a little bit later. Just remember this lady and bear her in mind as we get to that talk later.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. So the other great thing about being in this community of 4 courses is that we pool our resources. So we have this amazing talk program with industry, and these are some of the people that we've had come and do talks here in Norwich, from world-renowned design agencies and studios. And that sort of network comes out of the fact that we are these 4 different disciplines which share this space together. So you can learn lots from associated areas of your topic or discipline through these talks as well. And that also manifests itself through our student destination, so where they go. And that is also part of our community. So we see all of these places, which are an amazing range of design studios and like broadcasters and tech companies, as part of our community, and we engage with them quite a lot over the 3 years, and you have the opportunity to work with them too, some of them. And that's underpinned through the university, through having dedicated employability team to help you develop those professional skills. We also do it within each of the courses, so we have industry-led workshops with practitioners, pitches to design studios, presentations at businesses. So we go to a design studio or a publisher and you present your work there. So we're really enabling you to practice those professional skills and develop your understanding of the world of graphic design, user experience, communication and publishing.
Dressing as a banana is optional.
Yeah. But highly, highly effective. And from that sort of activity, We have really great established industry connections. So this is from our annual event in London, where we take students' work to London to present it and invite industry. So it's just our university, just our courses, with loads of industry people talking to our graduates about their portfolios, which is really successful. And that sort of, it connects us to our sort of network of alumni as well. So this is a lovely email from a graduate from last year who met someone from Harrods at our industry event, who was also an alumni graduate from our courses. And they got chatting, and she was offered a job as part of that relationship. So by us sort of staying in touch with our graduates, so in this case Megan, who was working at Harrods, she came back and said, I need someone to replace someone who's left. Can you suggest someone? We suggest people, obviously, from our courses. And that doesn't have to be from the course that they studied. And, you know, Hannah started not long ago at Harrods, which is a lovely thing.
So we have this quite unique approach to first year. So in first year, all 4 students study the same curriculum together. And then at the end of first year, you have a chance to reevaluate and decide if you'd like to pick a different option to the one you initially started on, or you can continue on the course that you originally selected. So these fundamental skills down the left underpin all 4 of these disciplines. So these are all introduced in year 1, so that you have that grounding that takes you on into the discipline-specific years 2 and 3 after first year. And then the project outcomes, these are the kinds of things that you'd be doing across all the courses, in fact, the things you can get involved with. In first year, you get a chance to try a little of all of these, and then you can specialize later. So a typical first year week might look something like this. So the kinds of classes you'll be doing are group tutorials, where a tutor would be sitting with a group of students, critiquing work in a way that lets students critique each other's work. Analog workshops, as in kind of physical craft and making type workshops. Software tutorials, of course, we teach you how to use industry standard software. Group seminars, this would be where we're discussing ideas that have come through in lectures. Industry talks, of course, where industry are talking about how these skills apply in industry. Lectures, of course. Work crits and reviews, so this is, again, frequent feedback is one of the kind of the keystones of our model here. So constant feedback and iteration to help you iterate on your project work. And then we have one-to-one tutorials where we really focus on you individually to see how your progress is developing.
Yeah. So this is like a typical week from a student perspective. So you can see from it that there isn't really a day where you're left wondering what to do next. So there's support throughout the week to help you continue your learning and develop your projects, which is really important to us.
So there's a film here that summarizes the kind of activities you might get involved with in year 1.
So just a bit of context, some of that work was made first time around with Trump, rather than this time around.
So yeah, this is the model we're trying to describe. So a shared year 1 where you specialize in years 2 and 3. So in that first year, there are elements of all 4 of these courses that all of our students experience. We also have this integrated foundation year at the beginning, which is an optional introduction to the courses. So you might apply for year 1 or you might apply for integrated foundation year. And then between years 2 and 3, we have 2 other optional, effectively sandwich years between year 2 and 3 that you can opt into at any point from applying to partway through year 2. So currently we're offering 2, a level 5 diploma in creative computing, which allows you to develop coding skills if that's something you develop an interest in or want to advance, and also the creative professional development level 5 diploma, where you spend a year within industry placements before returning to year 3. So the 4 courses we're talking about, they all have this relationship with storytelling. So even UX design, for example, there's the kind of the nuts and bolts of building websites and apps, but also we have to understand how to tell a story about the work that we're making in order to kind of articulate your design decisions. So all 4 courses share this kind of storytelling and presentation of ideas as a core skill.
So obviously once you hit year 2, you're still inhabiting a physical environment with all those 4 courses, but you're starting to really focus on the discipline-specific content. So there's still overlap, but it's not as great as it is in year 1. And that sort of comes across in lots of different ways as we work together as 4 courses.
So we exhibit together in the final degree show as a graphics area, and also we do our London portfolio reviews as all together as all 4 courses.
Yeah.
So this is moving into typical kind of year 2 and 3, so much the same kind of types of teaching sessions, but now we start to bring in more kind of direct contact with industry. So your tutorials might be with someone who's currently practicing industry, who's coming to visit and see you through the day. We start to build your independence more in year 2 as well. And this is where the discipline-specific stuff really starts to kick in. That's why it's up there 3 times. So we're starting to think about the specific software you're going to use in your industry even more, and amplifying that and tailoring you into the kind of career that you want to pursue in the future. And then in 3rd year, this is where we're helping you develop a portfolio, which is the kind of key deliverable that helps you get your foot in the door with an employer and to show the kind of work you make and want to make more of. And this is when we start running live industry briefs with industry who come in and set projects and guide you through that project. There's a lot of focus on business employability in 3rd year as well. We've got a huge focus on trying to prepare you for industry. It's a very important part of what we do.
So all of that stuff is, we think about that really carefully as educators, how to stage that, and these are some things that our students have said. There's a survey every year that all students participate in called the National Student Survey, and this is some of our results from that. So, how good are staff at explaining things? One that's important to me, like how often does your course challenge you to achieve your best work? They're really good things to hear our students saying back to us, that they feel like the curriculum that we've developed does that. And supports them, and this is what they say, because you have an opportunity to write feedback, and these things that we think about a lot. So we really care about your ideas. We don't have a conveyor belt where we're just trying to turn you into a type of graphic designer or a type of publishing student. We really care about those things. We have this great experience with industry. We build wider knowledge of the subject, so we're not just looking at the specifics, and that's where the year 1 really helps. You build that broader sense of understanding, and that the structure that we have supports you to showcase your work, which is also part of how we think about teaching you, is just the physical structure of how you interact with us. So that's a sort of quite a whistle-stop tour of how we think about planning your education and how we sort of make it really effective and valuable for you to develop those skills. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just show some works from specific courses and talk a little bit more about the 4 areas. So if you're here for design for publishing or graphic design, then you can sort of start to see the kind of work that you might produce.
So in graphic communication, so this list of fundamental skills that you're developing in first year that carry through all 4 courses, you'll still be developing those skills on all 4 pathways, but these skills on the right you'd start to focus in on if you're studying graphic communication. So graphic communication thinks a lot about multi-channel communications, so how an idea translates on social media, on the web, in the physical spaces, that kind of thing. We think a lot about filmmaking, so we think about storytelling through video a lot on graphic communication, motion graphics being a huge part of that. We think a lot about humor and how to engage an audience through these multiple channels. We're thinking about things like how you would navigate a space, and typography design is key to all of that as well. So here's an example of that. So this is a project a student did to raise awareness of stuttering. So this is how it might look as a series of posters. This is a typeface that the student designed that specifically stutters as you type to help raise awareness for designers as they're working. And this is how it might look across social media channels. It could also work in physical spaces as a set of badges, for example. This is another project that, from a graphic communication student, that gives you that sense of motion graphics, animation, storytelling, but it's also about engaging with technology. So although the UX design course, for example, focuses on very detailed elements of it, graphic communication students might work with UX students and think about how the story of that app or the concept might be conveyed.
There's nothing quite like a bookshop. Looking, discovering, mooching, stuck in our rooms, browsing reduced to a browser, the experience leaves us underwhelmed. That's where Mooch comes in. A new digital platform that focuses on book browsing. With friendliness at its heart, right down to the brand colours. Meet Paige. Using artificial intelligence, she can learn what gets you hooked, whatever the mood, so that everyone's on the same page. With a section to explore bookshelves, you can wander and roam in any direction. Finding new books and interacting with them like you would in real life. You tell us how moochable our recommendations are, and we get better at reading you. Show off your shelves on social media, and have a mooch around other people's. Creating a community to read and recommend, sharing stories from one bookworm to another. Go on, have a mooch.
We also think a lot about humour in our designs as well, how we can take an idea from the world and apply it to a brand or a service or a product.
We all need that jacket, I think.
Analog making techniques are still very important to us in graphic communication as well. So here students are exploring things like using shaving foam to write, and physical mark making, the kind of tactility of off-screen activities is very important for us as well. We don't want you just sat behind your laptop the whole time.
We're making type with balloons this year as well, so we're expanding.
This is a project for, it's called Chili Preppers. The idea is if you want to prep for the coming apocalypse, it may as well taste good. This is an identity campaign to promote a punk rock shop, or a rock shop in Southend called Punk Rock. So you can stick it to the man. This is one of our prize-winning projects from this year. So this was a graphic communication student, and the brief here is one set by Google, specifically the Google Fonts organization. So the brief asked the students to find or write a poem that talks about a sustainability challenge and then express it through typography. So here, this is about microplastics. You can see the little elements of the Google color scheme coming through in the lettering. And this is, remember the lady on the sofa with the knitting from earlier? Okay.
No, I'm the grandfather, and what else would I give my little grandson but my Werther's original? He's somebody special too.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you call love, but
tracksuits and the trainers were all customized by the students, so they were using creative crafting skills to build that, and then they art directed the photo shoot. So these are students in all of these photo shoots wearing the clothes they've designed, and then their heads are photoshopped on afterwards.
So pretty good stuff. Now we're going to talk about design for publishing, and the things that we focus on within this area is still very much graphic design, storytelling, all of those things that link our subjects together. But we're sort of thinking about that, telling other people's stories very much so, and looking at that world within publishing, so looking at book covers, thinking about magazines and how we interact with those, both physically and digitally, children's books as well. So we're also looking at a range of audiences, so not just one type of reader. We're thinking about all of those different times in your life where you engage with storytelling as a way of learning. And it spills out into lots of different areas that link to that. So one of the sort of key areas is thinking about book covers. We work with a number of publishers on projects as well. So this is a year 2 project where books have actually, some of the top row are books that have gone into print, so you can buy those books by people like Carl Sagan and Jamie Collinson. So that's year 2 projects which have become real outcomes. And the bottom 2 are competition winners from last year for the Penguin Design Award. So we also enter competition briefs which are dedicated towards people exploring publishing. We also do quite a bit of work with the university. So we work on a collaboration with Fine Art to design their publication every year. This is a magazine for the marketing department that our students created for the international students that we send out to them. So it's a sort of guide to Norwich. And in this instance, the student was taking photographs, interviewing people about Norwich. So they were thinking about the content and also designing the magazine as well. So some of our students really get into the idea of generating information as well as working with other people's. And we're really successful as a course. We really underpin a lot of our learning through sort of dedicated software, workshops, understanding how to communicate ideas. These are some of our successful students from a competition called the Society of Publication Designers, which is a New York-based competition for students. So this is our first place from last year. And we've also won it many times, so these are other winning students' work. And I think what you can see from that is how different, when we're looking at editorial design, how different the content is from one project to another, even though they're all working on the same brief. So guides to cities, reviews about musicians, and sort of thinking about cultural things. And so we explore magazine design in quite a broad way, and the content feeds into that sort of process. We also look at book design, so thinking about non-fiction, how we learn things, and our students will produce work which are sort of keying into cultural and historical topics, as well as things like fashion. So this is a lookbook for Stone Island, the clothing label, and how they have these amazing bespoke jackets which are hand-finished. So the students exploring that idea through their visual communication and manipulation. And a lot of the things that underpin what we do are around, thinking about type, thinking about how it expresses ideas through the way we create it and what it says about the content. We like graphic communication, we look at the technical quality of fonts. So this is a student who designed a typeface and now it's for sale through a font foundry. So we're sort of looking at that technical side of things in the same way, but being really playful with type and lettering. A lot of what we do as graphic designers centers around words. So we put a lot of effort into exploring how to present words in different ways to an audience to get their attention. So that might be digitally or physically. So this is us playing with big letters. And these are all made out of just A4 paper, these giant letters. and we did it in an afternoon in our banking hall space. So we developed lots of different ways for you to think about materials, to think about ways of doing things, different ways of communicating stories that aren't necessarily books as well. So just thinking about other presentation techniques. And we also look at the other elements to do with magazines. So we look at art direction and photography. So our students go out on location and take pictures on top of car parks in the middle of the night. These are both outdoors, and then like thinking about how you use studio spaces to control colour and lighting to create images. And like the Adidas film, the students made these wigs themselves, found the models, worked with a photographer to create these images. So there's lots of associated learning that happens. And we also think about image. So we think about image from an illustration point of view. So these are for a book cover that a student collaged all these elements together. So they spent days cutting stuff out. And as I said, we think about other audiences. So we think about young audience as well. So this is non-fiction for children. And also sometimes students write their own stories because they just got something inside that they need to communicate. So this is a student who's illustrated their own story for a kind of younger audience as well. So there's lots of opportunities within publishing to push yourself in slightly different directions as a designer.
Okay, so now we're on to user experience design. So again, those same fundamental skills that you pick up in first year move through the subsequent years. But in UX design, we're specifically looking at interaction design and interface design, how apps are put together. We think about service design and systems thinking. So not just the user interface on the delivery app, but what's the experience like for the riders or the people in the shop too. And we do a lot of user research and testing, so we make sure that the products we're building actually work for people by testing in live environments. There's a lot of psychology in what we're doing here. We're studying human behavior, thinking about things like information architecture. So where on the website do you find the information you need? How do you get to it? We do some coding. You don't have to code to be a UX designer, but many of our UX designers want to, so we have a whole sequence of workshops that help you bring your coding skills up to speed. A lot of what we're thinking about is accessible and inclusive design, so we have to make sure that products we build work for people with a range of different accessibility needs. We also explore AI a lot, of course. It's a very hot topic at the moment, and we want our students to be able to graduate. This is all, across all 4 courses. We need our students to understand how AI works, so that when they go into a workplace that is currently trying to figure out how to engage with it, our students are prepared for that. And we're exploring immersive spatial computing with things like augmented and virtual reality too. So this is a little show reel of some of the experimental and creative website design projects that our UX design students do. websites, obviously we're looking at app design as well. This is a massive project we do in the second year, very important one, which is in kind of 3 big phases, big research phase. And the overall concept is design for good. So this is aligned with that creative conscience competition we mentioned earlier. So the project in this case was a student wanted to design a way for people to find zero waste food stores, share the bill with housemates. So how do you order for a collection of students living together in a house? How do you split it? How do you compare prices between shops in an easier way? This is a project called Sustainable. So the idea is how do you get people to football matches in the most sustainable way? So it might be ride sharing or it might be buses, but also they introduced an element where teams could compete with each other for which team is the most sustainable. So it adds another interesting level of competition to the experience of engaging with the team. This is a project that we do in year 2 with Virgin Wines, who are based in Norwich. And we work with them very often, actually. They work with illustration as well. They're kind of quite embedded with us in the university. So the challenge here was to try and increase conversion on a voucher redemption system. You ever seen a little voucher that you get sometimes when you buy an appliance that tries to encourage you to sign up and get £50 off? So this was their original landing page for that. And we realized through research that the code doesn't mean anything, like who cares? So we broke down the page and redesigned it. So the new landing page cut a lot of those steps out and went directly to this. And then Virgin Wines take this and can then include it in their redesign and test it with real users. So at the end of that project, the students presented their work back to the CEO. This is Jay, the head of Virgin Wines, bottom left. Students presented the work, and after that, they had a wine tasting experience so they could try the wines that they'd been writing about.
Lucky students.
Yeah. And this is a D&AD prize-winning film. It's more of a kind of conceptual piece. So this won a graphite pencil at the D&AD Awards this summer. We'll talk more about the D&AD Awards in a little bit. This is another project. If you imagine Instagram, but for collaborating on projects, the student designed an app to allow you to connect with other students who needed a different discipline to help them bring a project to life. So you can add a notification, you can post and share a project, invite collaborators. Something else we get involved with here in Norwich, and it's a huge event in Norwich, is a thing called Sync the City. So this brings together University of East Anglia and Norwich University of the Arts and local businesses to essentially design a startup in 54 hours. So students are meeting industry and working with them on an idea, and it's this very intensive 3-day project. So here are 2 of our UX design students in a team of other people, entrepreneurs and startup managers, and we just generally do pretty well at this. So we won in 2022 and won again in 2023, and our students are just about to enter it again this year in 2024. It's a brilliant experience, and everyone comes out the other end just suddenly knowing loads of people and having leveled up all their skills massively.
Yeah. So last course to talk about is graphic design. Graphic design has been a course at Norwich for a long time. It has an amazing history, producing really well-known graphic designers out in industry working now. And at the heart of what we do in graphic design is thinking about clever and joyful ideas and how you can come up with ideas to help you communicate things. And that might manifest through branding and identity, brand story a lot, so taking a brand or creating one and then seeing how you can tell its story through graphic design, which could lead into retail, packaging, sustainable packaging as well, obviously, but also other areas like social media and a little bit of motion, not quite to the same extent of graphic communication. and physical making. So we like to explore the object as a thing rather than a sort of concept. And those things come together in different ways. So this is a very functional piece of packaging, but there's a really lovely idea hidden within the way the sort of OXO is created as a brand and how it connects to the coding for the products themselves. So there's also sort of high-end digital visualization skills that you develop. So obviously that was not a real bottle, but it's something that they've created digitally, and it's the same with these. They're visualizations of ideas to sort of get that communication and that presentation. And we start the sort of way of thinking quite early on in year 2. So this is from a very early on project where students are taking two very different things and finding an idea within that. So the idea of like night swimming and the moon on the water, with making up the swimming cap. So we're very much thinking about how to develop your skills to see those opportunities as a creative outlet for your ideas, and how we help you sort of understand how to come up with ideas which add meaning to what you're trying to communicate. And you know and that sort of comes through. We do quite a bit of packaging. We think about that sort of world. It's an area of graphic design that we all engage with in different ways, but we're trying to bring something unique to that. So this is a beer produced in Brixton, a bee beer, honey ale. And as I said, we do some identity work. We're thinking about that in a slightly different way, how we can bring the environment into the world that we create. And who doesn't need a paint tin of peanut butter? I know I do. So I think this is 2.5 litres. So it's 1 kilo. So it's pretty big, and it is actually a paint tin. So it's just like thinking about the physical nature of an object and how you might connect that to an idea that we all know. So making flower bags out of tea towels, to connect it to our use, hand painting bottles as well. So not just about that sort of high polish of a computer generated image, actually doing things by hand. And I think that comes through in a lot of the objects that we make in graphic design, where we see the opportunity of making as a way of generating an idea or adding to a thought that we've had about a product. So that was one of our D&AD winners from last year as well, like the user experience one. And I think what you can see through that is there's a kind of deep passion for colour within graphic design. And I know as tutors we really love colour coming through in what we do. And as I said, it sort of manifests in different ways. So this is much more about writing and thinking about sort of ethical chewing gum and how you might communicate that. So it's very much about advertising in this particular case. Oh, sorry, I went too fast. Let me go back. Yeah, it's playing now. So students they observe these really simple things sometimes which become effective communication. So this is for those strange hoovers that go around on their own, the robot hoovers, which seems very strange to me, but anyhow. So they're sort of just seeing that observation of them moving and thinking, how can that become an idea that will help me communicate something about this product? So it's very simple, so very different from previous things. And the students will also think about the sort of retail environment. So, you know, they've come up with an idea for a club, but they're also thinking about how that manifests itself within the environment. So this could be a retail environment like a storefront, or it could be a physical space like a club where a product is being sold. So the students are thinking about that environmental space as well, and how the brand can come through. And I think this is a really good example of a brand story, how they've taken a product. In this case, it's condoms. They come up with an idea, you know, for the perfect match, and they've carried that through in terms of how the packaging is created. So these are boxes of matches which they're based on that observation. So it sort of takes the sort of pressure away from having something like this in your bag, and then connects it to other areas where, you know, like stickers for Instagram. So thinking about how you can create assets which other people can share and use to promote your brand. And that sort of comes through in places like Instagram and social media campaigns as well. So they've had an idea and they've made an observation which is based around some packaging, but it's kind of generated lots of other avenues for them to explore creatively to bring that product to life and to communicate it to their audience. So I think with that, you can see how that year 2 project of bringing two things together comes full circle. So this is a year 3 D&AD project. And they've just observed that opportunity of splitting Martini, and then that's generated a whole series of ideas for them to explore creatively, and bring a brand to life in a completely new way. And I think what you'll see also with all of those films and projects that we've shown today for all 4 courses is they're very culturally aware, and they appropriate the things that we know to help communicate ideas, which is something that is supported through things like our contextual research units and the broader environment and community as a whole as well. So you understand what you can use to create better communication and better design. So that's a kind of few moment, I think. We got through all of them.
So we wanted to talk just a little bit more about these awards and what they mean. So all 4 of our courses have won a lot of awards over the years. So, but D&AD, we've mentioned a few times. This is a really big moment for all of us. The briefs for this year's competition have just been released. There's a lot of excitement around at the moment. But this was last summer. So this was, some of the students that won pencils went down to the award ceremony in London. If we just go on to the next slide. So there's a range of different levels of awards. So there's essentially the wooden ones on the left are like bronze, graphite in the middle, the grey one is like a silver, yellow is equivalent to gold. So this was our kind of harvest from last year of awards, which was amazing. But up in the top right corner, you see a black pencil. And so the black pencils are not always given out, but occasionally they're given out for work that really stands out. And last year there were 2 given out in the world, one to a team in Vietnam and one to one of our students. And so we're going to play you her film now. Sophie was one of our UX design students, but one of the things that she said all the way through was that the experience of this shared first year she had with graphics was really powerful in building that kind of core set of skills that carries all the way through. But this could have been a student on any of the 4 courses at Norwich. And this is the team at Sky who immediately went back to Sky and said, "Can we build this now, please?" And we got this lovely email from Sophie to say that she'd found a job. She'd been offered jobs in London at big agencies, but turned them down because she wanted to stay in Norwich, because she loved being here. And so she immediately went into a local agency called Coda, who do all of the on-screen graphics for the football team. So within kind of a month or so of being on, she was designing screens that were up in front of, 25,000 people on a Saturday morning. And I love this line at the bottom, "I look forward to Mondays," which is a really great thing. That's what we want for all of our students.
Yeah. I think what's great about that film as well is it shows that real understanding of user experience design, so the discipline-specific content is really up there, but the storytelling around that as a concept is amazing, and the timing of everything is just really beautiful. So that's where that unique year 1 gives you some of that starting, so you can then apply that in different ways depending on what course that you're doing. So yeah, three. Well, it's probably higher now in reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
But 300 first and second place awards in 12 years, and that's not just D&AD. That's across other things like Creative Conscience that we talked about, Society of Publication Designers, the International Society of Type Designers as well. So there's lots of different places that we support our students to showcase their work, and while it's not the only metric that we use to judge success, it's one that's definitely supported by industry, because they're the people judging these competitions in most instances. So we're getting validation for the great work that you do as students, which is very much hell yes for us. So we have got time for one more film. This film is another summary of us as a set of 4 courses in a community, and it was made by the same people that made the Year 1 film that we showed at the beginning, but they were Year 3 students when they made this one. So it's interesting to see their progression as designers. So that's us. So if you want to get in touch, take a picture of this, and sort of check out our links.